All right, Nerf sent out the new loadout series, the entire loadout series, but I'm going to do them one at a time because I want to give each blaster its due. So here we have the Shadowspeed Recon blaster. This is an N1 blaster, and it has some new attachments that I haven't had a chance to check out yet with Nerf. So let's get this out of the box. Let's see what it's about and give you my thoughts. What I like, what I don't like, what I would have changed. So here we go. So to start with, we have this dart holder. They call it a clip on the back of the packaging. I don't really know how much of a clip it is, but it is a dart holder for sure, and I'm just trying this out first before we even get to the blaster to see if this is going to make my life easier, because holding a fistful of darts like this when you're in a Nerf battle, it can cause problems. So we're gonna just try this out and see what we have left after. Okay, one side is completely filled, and I have 2, 4, 6 darts. Okay, that's interesting. They give you enough to fill up one side plus one, and then to fill up your whole blaster. So now let's fill up the blaster. One really interesting thing, you see this pattern, it kind of catches in the light a little bit. It reminds me so much the Nerf N-Strike Elite days, that pattern. I'm wondering if this shell was going to be used for something and then converted over to the N1 darts at a later time, because it is very much N-Strike Elite coded, I will say. Now I've got this in my hand, a couple things about it. One, the grip, either the priming handle or the actual grip here, don't feel all that sturdy. It feels like the plastic is a different variety. It feels more like a water blaster than anything else, really. Just some of that soft plastic. Not a big fan of that, but the shell itself, that feels good. Now, let's give it a test. Ooh, I like that N1 dart pop. That feels pretty good. So, performance-wise, right away, feels good. Now, this is called the Shadowspeed Recon. And with a name like that, you would assume that the darts, you'll be able to fire them quickly. So I think the speed is coming from the performance here, but I'm wondering if this has slamfire. I don't think any N1 dart blasters do, but we'll just give it a go. So I'm gonna squeeze the trigger, and no, that is not gonna work for us. And then also, when I was holding down the trigger, the trigger feels a little weird too. It's like a really stiff pull. As I was firing this, I realized I didn't have my dart holder here. So I'm gonna clip this on. I like this. This is kind of like a fun little design. I was able just to kind of hook it in. That's how this worked for me. I've got the pseudo clip magazine, whatever you want to call it, to put darts to top load them into the blaster, which I think is a really great idea. The fact that this is all contained and that I'm able to have darts. And I guess I can't run too fast with that. So let's keep doing that. Let's see if this is, yeah, more darts are going to fall off. Some of them fit better than others. So there's that consideration. Oh, no, too, look at this. So you can see that mark right there in the center of the N1 dart. That was just, you saw me put them on there. It couldn't have been more than just a couple minutes later that it's already starting to leave a mark in these darts. Conceptually, this is pretty cool. In practicality, is not what I hoped it would be. But let's fire some more darts out of this thing, and then we can talk a little bit more about it. Because right now, it's just all lead up to the blaster. Ooh. All right. So accuracy-wise, I would say most of them were good. Better than your Nerf Elite style dart, which is what you'd want from the N1 dart system, because that was the original promise that went in with these blasters, is that they would be more performing, faster shooting, more accurate than your Nerf Elite style dart. And I think that achieves that goal here. This piece, not a fan of it. I think good conceptually, but the way that it holds onto the darts, it's causing some damage, and that if this were to be loaded and stored with darts, you would ruin your N1 dart. I know they fire a little bit differently than your Nerf Elite style darts or even Halfling style darts, but you're still gonna have the issue of the barrel fit. If it's being compressed in the middle, it's going to allow air to go around it and not behind it, which is going to give you the best power. There are plenty of tactical rails here though, so I put it right here to make it look more traditional, I would say, but I could put it off to the side. Like, that kind of reminds me of a Star Wars blaster a little bit. So you could do it that way, you could put it at the top. That's kind of like a a fun way to have the blaster too. Like, again, conceptually, I have no problem with this device, but it's just how it functions and ruining the darts that really makes it, I just wish there was something a little different here. Holding the blaster, that plastic feel isn't great. Anywhere you have this navy blue, you're gonna get that different style plastic. It doesn't have the same substantial feel that we're used to with Nerf blasters. Now, if we look at the whole larger blaster category, I would say this is pretty well in line with that, but that was something that set Nerf apart. You could feel the build quality. While their blasters were competing on price, Nerf always typically had a higher standard of quality feel behind it. And it feels like this is just part of the Loadout series, where the Galactic Commander, which I reviewed a little while ago, had a similar thing, right? There were elements of it that felt really good, very Nerf-like, and other elements that felt like they were cost-saving measures. And the price of toys continuing to go up is, I think, its own video, but for now, we're just going to continue to evaluate the Shadowspeed Recon here based on just how it performs and how it plays with all the other blasters on the shelf. Now, talking about the plastic aside, the grip on this feels fairly comfortable. Your hand nestles in pretty well into the grooves here. You can get a nice solid grip to pump to prime this thing. Now, this is a much larger blaster than the Agility, but fundamentally, it is a very similar blaster to the Agility. The difference here being you can put a barrel on here as well as a stock attachment. And also something that loops around, I feel like that's part of the whole Loadout series, but I haven't seen one of these yet. It's probably in one of the other blasters. And the other element too is, like, if we put this next to the Galactic Commander, this has like a dragon seal or like a dragon emblem or something like that on here. We have space, we have dragons, and then some of the other blasters in the whole Loadout series have different elements too, whereas Nerf lines in the past would have like a similar theme, right? So if you had the Nerf N-Strike Elite, it would be all this blue and gray and black and orange, but then there might be some retailer exclusives where I think Walmart had like the white and blue digital camo and stuff like that. We're getting like a variety of styles here in the Loadout series. So while it doesn't have a whole cohesive visual identity, each individual blaster has its own look, its own feel, its own style, which you can look at two ways. One, that the whole Loadout series is about customizing your own blaster, having your own unique look and feel. But on the other hand, if you have all those pieces and they don't really work cohesively, if the colors clash, and if the parts don't really mesh well and align with the style of the blaster, it might look a little cobbled together. But from my experience, the people using these blasters aren't going to be too concerned about that, and if they are, they'll likely figure out a way to make it a more visual, cohesive look. Now, the one thing I'm really curious about is this new barrel attachment point. So for the Loadout series, and for anything really N1 dart, is that we're going to have to redesign the barrel lug for this because the darts just aren't the same diameter. But the stock attachment point is the very same one that we've had for over 20 years at this point now, since the days of N-Strike. So I could put this worker stock on the back of this thing, and now I have an extremely comfortable blaster. Like I said, the forward grip on this feels good, and then the extra stock length right here means that this blaster remarkably comfortable. Now, one thing you need to know about Nerf N series blasters, Loadout in particular, is that when you seat the darts, you have to seat them all the way back. That is the way you're going to get the best performance out of them, because what you'll end up doing is if you don't seat them all the way, the air restrictor won't press in the back, and then the air won't flow as freely. So, what do I like? What don't I like? What would I have changed? Probably the placement of the barrel, because I missed that dart shot. So what I like about this blaster is that it looks like an N-Strike Elite blaster, but it is done in a style that is more N1, more Loadout. So there's something familiar, there's also something new here. I like the forward grip, how it feels in my hand, as well as the options to add a stock, add a barrel when I get an N1 style barrel, and all of the different points of attachment rails. Those are all really great things. Now, the core of the blaster, this red part, feels very Nerf. It feels very N-Strike Elite, and this is the part that I don't like. Anything that's navy blue doesn't. It feels just a little weaker. It feels cheaper. It feels like a cost-saving measure. There's more hollowness. I can squeeze the handle and feel it give with just a little amount of pressure. Dart blasters are active toys. These are something that you want to go outside and play, something that you want to have space to be able to run and do all kinds of physical activity with. So to have that quality be compromised slightly is just feels like a step in the wrong direction. But also recognizing that the price of toys is going up, and I'm guessing that toy manufacturers are going to want to do everything in their power to keep that price down, and to do that, you have to figure out ways to save a few bucks. Something I would have changed is this piece, the clip holder, magazine holder, the dart holder. I mean, that's essentially what this is. It looks great. It is a fun little accessory that you can put on a number of different areas on this blaster. But when it comes to the function, when it comes to putting the darts in here and having them hold, well, one, you're starting to compress the darts and you're starting to put marks on the darts, which is going to decrease the lifespan of them. But when I was moving it around, when I was just jiggling it around, simulating running at full speed would be like, the darts start falling out. So it's kind of the worst of both worlds. One, you're ruining the darts, and two, the darts aren't really staying where they're supposed to be. So, I like this idea though. So I would have changed this. I would have configured it in a slightly different way where the darts wouldn't have been as compromised with either the hold or the damage. So it really feels like this blaster is designed for someone who enjoys the tactics, who enjoys adding things to their blaster. Because if it were up to me, if I were to recommend a 6-cylinder N1 dart firing blaster, I would still probably go with the agility at this point. Whereas this, I can see its place because you're starting to offer a system, very much like Modulus, very much like N-Strike Elite, but without any other blasters and barrels and stocks and stuff like that. It feels like there are better options out there in the N1 space, and the agility for me is that blaster. And we didn't even really get into the fact that this is called the Shadowspeed, and you can't slam fire it. I mean, the darts do go quick. It's N1 style performance, but you want to be able to unload those darts quick. That was kind of my impression based on the name. And if you like our discussion on this blaster, I talk a lot about them, but also pop culture, collectibles, action figures, anything action related. The Ri-Fi channel has you covered. And to get more videos, you just got to hit that subscribe button. But that's all I know about the Nerf Shadowspeed Recon from the Nerf Loadout series. This is an N1 blaster. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.